packages as well to listen to ingredients and perform some function on it. Our next step is creating the server API. So this is how we go by it. So we have to first copy this setup. It's very basic. We can actually write it down, but I covered everything in my previous video, so you can check that one out. How to set up the Express API. So yes, require Express, require calls, require body parser app as zeros, and this is just basic. The most important part is using this course, that is app use the course, and also the body parsers as well, because we run the JSON format and listen to the port. So we'll be listening on port 5000. We'll be listening on port 5000, and later we'll be creating the MongoDB and creating a MongoDB schema so that we can store our ingredient in a form of menu, as explained earlier in the previous video. So as zeros, you have to npm as zeros body parser calls dotted. So yes, install all these packages available, so you can check from here Express body parser as you see. So once you are done with the installing, we can now do the prediction. We can now create the router. So we create router. Yeah. So how do we create router? First, we have to do app dot root. So we root, but we're not be routing. No, I want to create the basics, so let's use the as a post. Then the same predict site. So predict, and we create an async because you'll be listening to flask API as well. So request and response from there. Then we listen to a body. So with what kind of data we listen to? I listen to what's ingredients. So constant and ingredients. Share the spelling very well. The E and the X ingredients should be ingredients, not otherwise. So require dot body, and we can try. Sorry, bring it down. Body parser body. We can now try catch from here, and if there's an error, we should return rest dot status 500 dot json. You can see maybe internal server error. Good. Then we can also start writing it. So the first thing to check is check if the data set is empty. Check if the ingredients field is empty or not. So check if there is no ingredient, or the ingredients, the length is equal to 0, then it means there's an error. We don't want to populate empty data into flask. We don't want to send empty data to flask. So we return rest dot status 404 dot json. Then we can come there, is that okay, please provide an ingredient. Then once there is a have an ingredient entered, we can now pass the ingredient to flask server. Flag server. So how do we do this? We do this by first listening to a response, first get a response. So a response from, then await from Azios the post. So Azios first thing you have to listen to is the HTTP flag side. So flag side and flag side is HTTP. So you can get from this side. We can navigate here. Yeah. So this is the HTTP. Once you have the flags, the pip installed and flags and pip install calls, when you run Python flags API dot Python flags API dot py, it should give you this kind of terminal response. So once you have that one installed, and you can copy this. So HTTP and then we move to predict, because that is the endpoint you're listening to, and we send the ingredients. So we can say ingredients, and what's ingredients again. We can just use the ingredients format like this way. You can do it this way by the ingredients, and it's work. So once the ingredients is in, what we are listening to, sorry, yeah, I should have this talk cuisines, because this is what you'll be listening to, right? Good. So our data is in, once our data is in, we get the response from the top events. So constant, then say top business. I can say top using like this. Then we get from the response, we get the data, and based on data, we get the top underscore users, and we're ready to go. Now we can call, sorry, we can call our data and show it to the user, and show them to the user. Okay. So how do we do this? We just very simple, return a JSON or state dot 200 dot JSON JSON, you can say menus, and just populate it with the top business that we have. So sorry, actually response dot JSON dot. Now you good to go. So this is, so once you have it, so we can go back and analyze the code. So first we take from the predict, right? And once we enter this predict site, we are using a local, so using a port 5000. Yeah. So you can start a terminal and start a port, so that you see the Express server running on port 5000. So the Express server is actually running on port 5000, and we check for the ingredients. Once there's no ingredients, we should return this, break the code that, okay, don't continue because we don't have no ingredient entered. But once there's an ingredient, we can now go here and navigate to this ingredient, take that ingredient, so it comes here. So on this flags API, when we move here, it says, okay, predict JSON format, get the ingredients. So based on this ingredients field, that is this ingredients field, we get that one ingredients. And if the ingredient is not, so we should return this. So actually we can leave this thing out, and once it's reached here, it's going to stop the code because there's nothing here. So no ingredient provided, no ingredient. But it's best of we stop it from this side, than going to this side, because when you go to this side, automatically stop. So let's stop from one side and we combine them. We use the vectorizer on it to split it, train it very well, get a probability, get a first data, and calculate for the top end, and navigate through all the data sets using the probabilities, with the classifier, the classes, the top indices, and also the top probabilities as well. Then we check through the data and pick the probability that is very close, or that is that makes sense. We only want 20 of them and return this information. Yeah, good. So let's start the service. PCD to backend. And if unless you have this folder, so you can see from here I created a folder called backend and created my server.js. So navigate to this backend. Then from backend you can do npm run start and it runs. So it's running the backend. NodeMon is running the backend. So make sure you have NodeMon installed. All these packages installed. It's highlighted. I will also show them to the data, right? I also show them as well. So I think our port is not running very well because we didn't require the JSON. So you have to require the dots env and configure them. Once you configure, everything will be okay. So right, running on port 5000 here, and I created a JSON. You can see from this side .in, we use the vectorizer on it to split it, train it very well, get a probability, get a first data, and calculate for the top end, and navigate through all the data sets using the probabilities, with the classifier, the classes, the top indices, and also the top probabilities as well. Then we check through the data and pick the probability that is very close, or that is that makes sense. We only want 20 of them and return this information. Yeah, good. So let's start the service. PCD to backend. And if unless you have this folder, so you can see from here I created a folder called backend and created my server.js. So navigate to this backend. Then from backend you can do npm run start and it runs. So it's running the backend. NodeMon is running the backend. So make sure you have NodeMon installed. All these packages installed. It's highlighted. I will also show them to the data, right? I also show them as well. So I think our port is not running very well because we didn't require the JSON. So you have to require the dots env and configure them. Once you configure, everything will be okay. So right, running on port 5000 here, and I created a JSON. You can see from this side .env data there. You can see the ports there. You can see the ports there. Client, gender client. So once standard client is in, but before you can use standard clients in your VS Code, you have to add it to your extension. So let's click on this extension and type standard client and install the first lightweight that you see. So click on this 5000 locals, or I've already created a dummy data already. So we are going to send this dummy data, but what we do is we are going to clear some data there, and or better still, I think it's good if we clear everything and create a new ingredient. So this ingredient, right? Ingredient, the spelling check it very well, and array right? So our first data will be, let's say we have onion, we have pepper and spelling, we have tomato. Now we can send this data. Once we send this data, look at the logic. First, go to this predict, right? Once it hit this predict, and go to this as use and as use listening to it, navigate to this our flask API using this flask default routes, that is HTTP 127.5002, because I'm running on port 5002 here, and also the endpoint name is predict, and that's why I added a predict to it. So once it hits this endpoint, and this ingredient is going to generate what a response to it, and a response are top cousins. So we send the HTTP and go to get menus, right? I think, let me bring this thing down, and you can see from here we have cuisine, Mexican ingredients, 20 of them shown, blah, 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 blah. We have a lot, and also the probability is there. The reason why we selected this because you have a probability of this is also having a probability of that, this is also a probability of this. So based on the probability, the best probabilities that we have is going to generate the unit. So we can test this by just going through our data sets. Sorry, let me. So we can test this by going to our train model, so that we're gonna be like we are just writing the data out of nowhere. So I want to copy just one of the data sets here. So once you have the data sets, you can copy this, all of them, or just copy 3 of them, and we must have a response called Greek. So clear this. Once you clear this, then run the same. So you having Greek, having a lot of other like Roman lettuce, black olive, bell pepper, garlic, garbanzo beans. You can see from garbanzo beans and feta beans, you have pork, because these are the ingredients that are popular to Greek cuisines. We also have similar Mexican, having the same garlic, like most of the item there. You can see we have um garlic, onion, lime, pepper. Garlic is there, tomato. So basically the first response will be like the actual ingredient. So what the ingredient, like the ingredient that have most um data in the cuisines, will be the first probability. So you can see that the probability is 99999, is very, very close, and this probability is very, very less, but this is the second best option that we have in the probability test. You can see from here to very, very average, because if you check systematically, you can see only garlic running from this side, only garlic is available there. There is like there's olive, but the olive is not olive oil, and we have a lot of data missing. That's why this probability is very close to 1. It's like almost 90%, but it is very, very way just 3% of this, and this is just like 2% of it, and these are where the best. So our next step will be saving these menus into our database, and that is very easy because we just have to create a data schema and add it to the database.